my thought process is I never start from the product. I usually start with the market. Either I have a leverage, I have some network, or I have some expertise or knowledge about the markets. It was an
Yeah.
accident. I never worked like as an SDR or that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. I accidentally discovered it as a founder when I was building my own startup, and then so there was a huge gap in the market, a lot of
Hmm.
demand, and then that was a good signal to go after it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Startup or Founder series. We have a very special guest with me here today. It is Mav, the CEO and founder of Salesfinity. We are super excited to talk about all things lead gen, all things sales. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Hey everyone.
Of course. Well, perfect. I don't know if everyone knows at this moment in time, so let's start here. Just what is Salesfinity? What is the problem you're solving? And what are things that traditional outbound tools just miss?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with Salesfinity, what we do is we help sales teams, especially SDRs and BDRs, have more live conversations over the phone. So we started as a dialer platform, AI dialer platform. So what we did in the beginning was um, filter out voicemails and machines and only connect when live humans pick up the phone calls. That allowed reps have more conversations in less time and not spend too much time hearing the dial tones and voicemail machines, deadlines, that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, great. And what would you say is kind of your point of difference in the marketplace? Like why do you exist and why are you here?
Yeah, definitely. So initially, when we started as a dialer, that was a huge productivity boost because
Hmm.
a lot of the time people weren't picking up the phone call or it was taking too much time for reps to get into live conversations. But the more we worked on this market, we realized there are more issues beyond making phone calls, such as data. For example, when reps are calling prospects, are they calling the right phone numbers? So what we noticed is around 30-40% of the time, the data they are acquiring from all these data vendors, like Apollo, Info, could be anyone, is actually unreachable deadlines. So what we decided to do is, why are we keeping people make dials to all these numbers? So we started validating the list before they even begin calling, and then re-enriching those contacts with valid numbers using waterfall enrichment with different data providers. So we started attacking before you even place your first call. You need to make sure your list is intact. You have the best possible phone numbers in your list. So, and
Hmm.
that's how you get into live conversations. So that's step one. List is the strategy. So you got to make sure the list is fantastic. Otherwise, no matter how good the dialer is, you won't get any results. And after that, what we noticed is people were having a lot of conversations, but some teams were booking lots of meetings and some were not booking a lot of meetings. So when we analyzed the difference, so the teams that were booking a lot of meetings were actually like very persistent with follow-ups versus the teams that were just getting the leads, calling the leads, and getting into the next list and calling the list and kind of like one touch attempt. So what we decided to do there is we started automatically creating follow-up tasks based on the conversations people were having, because a lot of the time you could be calling the right people, but they may not be in the market or buying a solution, or they might already have an existing vendor, nor budget, or priorities are different. So it doesn't mean they will never buy from you. It just means the timing is wrong, and we call them good fit, not now prospects. So the AI we built that pretty much automatically categorizes those people and sets up follow-up tasks. So when the right time comes, they reappear in your dialer and you call them and book more meetings. There are many benefits of this list, follow-up list. Number one is you're gonna get higher uh, call pickup rates from these
Hmm.
people. The reason being is you call them in the past before, they answer their phone calls and they have a validated number. For those reasons, like they're gonna pick up again at some point in the future versus calling absolutely cold leads that you are getting from a data vendor. And number two is you have now context from the last call, like
Mm-hmm.
what vendor they're using, when is the budget going to come up, or the priorities are focusing on. And in the next call, you're going to reference those. Hey, Parker, we spoke with you 6 months ago and you were thinking about implementing a new CRM. It's now a better time to talk about XYZ. So that's very different versus making absolute new cold calls. And as a whole, we call this compound prospecting because how this works is getting a great list, you call the list, all the good fit not nows go into follow-up list. So a month one, maybe you'll get 10. By month six, you have so many follow-ups to work with. You're just gonna book way more meetings by just following up with this warm leads. So that's how different we are.
Hey everyone, just a quick heads up. Today's episode is sponsored by Startupper, also known as us. We're in the process of building something super special for startups at this moment, and to fund the mission, we're providing high quality services like lead generation. Please check out our website at startupper.xyz if you'd like more information, or drop a comment if you'd like to chat. Please like and subscribe to stay tuned to our channel for more information, more interviews like this, and as always, please enjoy the rest of the episode. Okay, yeah, well, amazing. That's what we've seen. We definitely use you guys for our outbound within our clients. So we've seen that the consistent follow-ups has been a game changer for us as well. So definitely validated there. Let's take a step back within your background. So you've worked within a bunch of different industries. Kind of what is the through line? What is the common theme, and what led you to here?
Sure. I mean, I came from a country called Uzbekistan. I was an international student here, so a lot of hustles here and there, a lot of failed projects, whatnot. And my recent startup was called Research AI. Basically, it was AI copywriting tool. So
Mm-hmm.
back in 2022, 2021, when GPT-3 just came out, in beta for developer community. I was on early access wait list and I got an early access with that. So when I saw the tool, it was so good. I fall in love with it. And then I built a copywriting tool because I just graduated uh, from marketing school. So that's what I wanted to do, like copywriting tool. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that did really well, but I didn't know anything about how to sell to uh, companies. I was very good with the PLG motion, like scaling with ads and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to go after like bigger teams, bigger checks. And that's when my friend who was an SDR told me, I asked him, hey, bro, how do you sell to these people? And
Mm-hmm.
he would always tell me, I just closed 40K deal, 50K deal, that kind of stuff. It's like, how do you do that? And he told me, you need to make cold calls. You need to talk to these people and book meetings. And then that's how it started. I learned a little bit about the industry. Uh, it was too much work for me at the time. And when that startup was acquired, that pain stood with me, and then I said, okay, why don't we build a cold calling software?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So essentially dove in and then found the pain points and worked backwards, right?
Yes, yes. It
Yeah.
was an
Yeah.
accident. I never worked like as an SDR or that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. I accidentally discovered it as a founder when I was building my own startup, and then so there was a huge gap in the market, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
demand, and then that was a good signal to go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'd say that it's still really huge today. So continue on. So when we're talking about tactics within great outbound, like what makes a great outbound strategy within 2025?
Sure. All outbound starts with a list. List is the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're targeting right companies, right ICP, you should have some success. So there are so many different channels. I mean, a lot of people say you should do cold calling, you should do cold email, you should do LinkedIn. Really, all you need to do is, depending on what software, who you are selling to, you need to figure out where they spend their time. For example,
Hmm.
if you're selling to engineers, they're probably on not on LinkedIn 24/7,
Right.
uh, writing some stuff. They're busy writing code, right? I mean, most
Hmm.
engineers go to LinkedIn when they get fired or they got a new job to update their LinkedIn, but they're not like
Yeah.
actively there. But if you're selling to like recruiters, HR, or sales, probably they are all on LinkedIn 24/7.
Hmm.
So that's where you should be spending your time. So depending on what you sell and who you sell to, you gotta pick a medium. That's it. That we don't need to overthink that. So if you're selling to like finance people, accounting, engineers, like people who don't spend time on LinkedIn, your best bet is like phone calls or sending emails. And emails also depend, like, do they also read emails? So you just gotta pick a medium based on who you sell to. And then
Hmm.
and then you actually do the work. You make phone calls, you send those emails, and then a very most important thing is the following up. So there is a very high probability of you not booking meetings and generating pipeline when you speak with your audience the first time. It mostly
Hmm.
happens in your second, third, fourth, and fifth follow up. So you just need to be persistently following up with all those leads. That's a game. So you're gonna build a
Hmm.
list, you're gonna call the list or send emails, and then you follow up and repeat.
Right. Yep. Definitely. And all starting with the data, especially that like big conversion of AI and follow-ups versus the human touch. I think that that's really important. So within your value proposition for Salesfinity, you consistently talk about making 100 cold calls and speaking to 6 to 10 prospects within 30 minutes, right? So what is the tech behind that that makes it a reality? How did you build that?
Yeah, basically it's our AI dollars that's dialing that. So
Hmm.
we have the ability to automatically dial multiple prospects in parallel. So it's up to five. So we call it parallel dialer. So you can
Hmm.
call like three people at the same time and then get into live conversations faster versus doing it manually one by one. We support power dialing as well. Power dialing is basically calling one at a time. So normally
Right.
what we recommend is if you have absolutely cold lists that you don't even know who's gonna pick up from that list, it's good idea to do a parallel dialing. And then once you create those follow-up opportunities, then you're gonna power dial because those are validated lists that you've already spoken with. So there's gonna be a
Hmm.
higher pickup rate on that. So you're gonna use power dialing with those to follow up.
Okay. Right. And when you're building all of these, like let's take a step back to when you were building the company from the ground up. When you're building call prioritization, smart call logic, list building, automation, all those things. So what did you build first, and kind of like what was your thought process behind it?
We started with a dialer first. That's foundations. So
Hmm.
we are selling more conversations, not more calls. So to make
Right.
sure the conversations happen, you need to have a very good call infrastructure and making sure like calls are connecting, they're not dropping mid call, all that kind of stuff. That's number one. Number two is the integration. People don't just need more calls or conversations. It also needs to
Hmm.
automate all those manual tasks like completing tasks, logging calls to CRM, those kind of stuff. So you're gonna we we then started with integrations. We started with Apollo integration first because it was such an underserved market, and back then Apollo was like a rising star. Before it was like
Hmm.
hot and cool, it was like a rising star. So we saw an opportunity. So instead of going after typical Salesforce and HubSpots from day one, which other dialers already had, we began with where can we find leverage? And we
Hmm.
saw that no one integrated with Apollo, but there was a growing user base. And we started with that, and it was a right call. and we grew very quickly with that.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely great tactic. So let's talk about outbound engines and like if you were to build an outbound engine from scratch, let's say someone's using your platform for the first time, new founder, what do they do? How should they build like the best outbound engine at this moment in time?
Yeah, good question. It starts with a list. You need to know who you want to sell to exactly,
Hmm.
like ICP, out cold, and you're gonna start with a list. Spend more time on that aspect. Don't compromise. Don't try to automate whole bunch of stuff. And if you're doing it the first time, you have no clue who's gonna buy. Don't try to like automate it using like um automation tools. Like be very diligent with your
Hmm.
list building process until you find success where the niche is, where you will see more success. So step one, don't automate the list building process from day one. You're gonna regret because you're gonna be calling wrong people, and then you won't have any success and you will give up on outbound. So the list is the strategy. Again, spend like
Hmm.
half of your time building incredible list of perfectly ICP accounts. You start with the accounts, not from the contacts. You map out the accounts that you want to sell. Account means companies. So
Hmm.
make a list of like 100, 200 ideal your dream customers, and then find personas, 3, 4 from each account, and then do the outreach to all of those people. That's the process. In the beginning, if you're starting from scratch, you don't need automation stuff. You need automation when you want to scale what's working, but if you have nothing that's working, you're gonna be automating the wrong things. So do manual approach. So find the accounts manually, find the people manually, and reach out to them manually. You don't need expensive tools from day one. And once you start seeing some success and you know what good looks like, then you automate it and have more of those. Simple.
Yeah, the consistent testing and learning, iterating and optimizing. But that's a great advice for kind of just where we start. So within let's kind of take it on the other foot. What is one outbound tactic that's overrated that you think is overrated at this moment in time?
Interesting. I would say like intent signal, some like uh people think like there is a magic tools that allow you tell you
Right.
exactly in
Yeah.
market customers. I
Hmm.
mean, it's we all want those customers, but they don't exist. It might exist in Narnia, but not here.
Yeah. And like the over automation is kind of what you're talking about as well. Like, consistently not having the human touch, thinking that everything's going to automate it, thinking you're going to be able to validate your list from day one and things of that nature without testing and learning along the way.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. So when you've been building, something that we've consistently heard from a lot of the founders that we've talked to is getting customer feedback, putting that into a loop, and then consistently improving along the way. What was kind of your process for taking customer feedback and turning it into product updates?
Sure. It's very simple. First of all, the feedback loop process begins from the moment you close the deal. So as soon as someone buys, you can ask simple question, why did you buy us? So it
Hmm.
gives you like they explain you, I bought it because I can do X, Y, D and stuff. So that gives you an idea why people are buying your tool. And then from there, once they start using the tool, you can ask them like, hey, um, what problems how can we make the tool better, just asking like simple questions, and then they will pretty much tell you. You need to be very careful about this process as well, because
Hmm.
uh depending on who you listen to, your product will go to that direction. So if your ICP is wrong and you're getting wrong customers from day one, and then you're listening to them and building features for them, then you're probably going up to a different direction than you initially thought. And another thing is sometimes when you are closing deals, some people say if you build this feature, we'll buy it. And
Mm-hmm.
ideally,
Mm-hmm.
don't prioritize feature requests for those, because 9 out of 10 times those people never buy. So never buy.
Yeah.
So ideally, prioritize feature requests from your existing customers who are actually paying to you, and also like it's very important to have like big enough sample size of like similar requests versus going after every request. I mean, sure, you can
Mm-hmm.
do it in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, but as you get bigger and you need to prioritize what goes first, what never gets into the production. So that's why you, yes, you need to get a lot of feedback from customers and build for them, but you also need to be cautious who you listen to, because if you listen to the wrong users, then you probably go to a very different direction.
Yeah, no, that is great advice. I'm sure it's pretty easy early on for founders to kind of try to listen to everybody, but you definitely need to. Otherwise, it completely changes the trajectory of your entire company. So, in terms of, let's say, when you have bootstrapped and then exited, and then now you run a high growth SaaS startup, what has been kind of the hardest shift between those stages of when you're within bootstrapping and you're within high growth, and things of that nature?
That's interesting question. I mean, every stage of the company requires different mindset. Early on, you're
Hmm.
thinking about survival and thinking about whatever it takes to get from 0 to 1. But when you get to 1 and then trying to scale to 10, it requires different mindset versus like trying to do it all by yourself. When you are bootstrapping from day
Hmm.
0, you need to think about how can I hire the right person to scale this, because obviously if you're just bootstrapping one person, you can scale the whole thing. It's impossible. That's why the mindset shift is how can I put into the it's pretty much resource allocation. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
you're thinking about uh, multiplying your efforts. How can you do that? How can you hire really good people? How can you build great processes? That kind of stuff.
And so when you were early stage at Salesfinity, what made you understand that you found your product market fit? So I feel like it's very hard for companies to decide or basically find out that they have full product market fit. How did you know that this was it and this is what we need to scale?
Mm. Everyone has different definition for that, but for
Hmm.
me, if tomorrow is easier than today, and there's like a market pull effect, that's when it means
Right.
there is product market fit versus trying to push your market, and it's so hard. Every day it's getting hard. Every day is a grind. Like it's just not growing. Like it takes too much effort. That probably means there is no product market fit.
Right. Yeah. So just kind of the organic, like we know we're on the right path here. I think that that's a good way to put it. Just a big gut check. Yeah. So, what is one thing that you wish every founder, like building a B2B SaaS company, understood before launching? What do you wish you knew before you launched?
Sure. A lot of founders I spoke with and the mistakes I made in the past were all from starting with product or an idea. That's a wrong way of starting startup, because then you're gonna
Mm,
build some product, and then most often if you ask most questions will like, how do I get customers? That's a wrong question to be asking, because you build this product and you build it for some people. If you don't know who you built it for, and most likely no one else knows how who's gonna be the user. Kind of like, for example, my thought process is I never start from the product. I usually start with the market. Basically, I pick a market. Either I have a leverage, I have some network, or I have some expertise or knowledge about the markets that I understand that I can sell to. Like, can I do I know anything about this market? Probably, for example, if I went after some medical, healthcare, or construction market, I have zero idea, zero
Hmm.
connections, absolutely nothing in those markets. So it will be very hard for me to go deep in that. And once you find some market where you can potentially sell to, understand a little bit, then you pick a persona. Persona meaning
Hmm.
like whose problem would you like to solve? Are you going to solve uh, SDR's problem or VP of sales, CRO's problem? Whose problem are you solving? So you're going to pick a persona, and then you're going to pick top three of their problems that they are willing to pay for. So the higher the priority, the better. And from there, you're going to check the market and see uh, what might be the solutions and try to build a better product. That's that's how I look
Hmm.
at it, and I recommend it for 99% of founders to go this way versus trying to be Elon Musk.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Product first is a very specific way to go about it versus like understanding kind of the need and the problem and then working backwards.
Yeah, because if you start with a market, then persona, then product,
Hmm.
once you build your product, you know exactly who you built it for. So you will never
Hmm.
ask, where do I get customers? You know who your customers are because you purpose built it. It's like,
Hmm.
imagine you're like shoemaker, for example. You made a shoe and then you're looking for a person whose foot size might fit into versus
Right.
you find a person. Do you need a shoe? Yes, I need a shoe. What's your size? Let me measure it. And then you make a shoe for them and they wear it, they love it.
Right.
That's the idea pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good way to put it. That's an awesome example. Okay, well, awesome. So when we're talking about where our company also is kind of in the trenches for building lead generation for our clients, lead generation systems, all those things. What advice would you give to founders that want to turn their lead generation outbound engine kind of from something that costs them a lot of money to something that's a growth engine, right? So after we have found that ICP, how do we iterate, optimize, and continue on?
Basically, there are two ways to go about it. First of all, I mean, working with agency can be tricky in the very early stages. If they
Hmm.
don't know who their ICP is, then then like agency is also going to struggle. Like you don't know who your
Yeah, absolutely.
customer is, how would the agency know who would your customer
Hmm.
be? So if you have an idea of who your customer is, you sold a few deals, you know, you have some idea like who's your ideal customer is, and
Hmm.
you want more of it, there are two ways to go about it. Number one is you need to build a team on your own and scale it. Or number two, use an agency and tell them this is my ideal customer, help me get more of these people.
Hmm.
So it's a very simple process, but again, I would recommend for everyone to understand their ICP, like ideal customer, who their dream customers are before doing anything outsourced, because
Right.
then the agency will struggle and there won't be, uh, it's not fault of the anyone, but it's just so many unknowns in here. So it will it will not end well. But if they know exactly who they want to target, and the agencies are good at with processes, with sourcing all those leads and executing on that, and they know that they have their correct target and they go after that, agencies will source a lot of leads and they make a lot of money, and the customer is also happy because they're getting tons of tons of lookalike accounts.
Hmm. Yeah. And so when we're building these types of strategies, kind of where have you seen the most likely place that lead gen teams fail? You've consistently talked about the data, building the lists, ICP. Is that your answer? Is it kind of like something else entirely?
this is this would be like if the founder doesn't know who their customer is, it's
Hmm.
very hard for any third party to figure out who their customer is going to be. So when that's unknown, most often it doesn't work out.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that that totally makes sense. Okay. So, um, what kind of like, let's say we want to work and get our SDRs to like a 5 times ROI, kind of like take me just through the general playbook outside of list building that you usually talk to about your customers to increase their ROI.
Mm, outside of list building, it's putting in um, more activities and following
Hmm.
up. That's
Right. Yeah.
pe people like to overcomplicate simple things. Really, outbound is all about building a list of your ideal customers, calling them, emailing, basically contacting them.
Hmm.
And basically, some of them are going to say, yes, I'm interested. Let's book a meeting. And a lot of them, around 70% of them, are going to say, sounds great, but we don't have a budget. This is not a priority. We already have a existing solution, XYZ. And those people, you need to categorize them and then follow up down the line and repeat. No need to overthink, no need to build like
Hmm.
105 step like automation flows. You don't need to uh,
Yeah.
10 different intent signal tools that will predict when the prospect's coffee mug is empty so you can time the outreach just well. You don't need any of that. It's very simple.
Yeah, and so let's say we're building that multi reach out type of system. What have you seen working well recently? Is there nuances within different industries? Let's say we're working within like B2B SaaS. Like how many reach outs through cold calls have you seen be the magic number?
Uh, so we have a newsletter called Cold Call Benchmarks. So if you
Hmm.
go to coldcallbenchmarks.com, we publish weekly stats on how many dials it's taking to book one meeting. In general, if you are contacting cold leads, you are expecting one meeting every 3 to 400 cold calls if you are an average performer. But
Hmm.
there are top performers when we analyze their booking one meeting every 114 or 4 dials based on millions of cold calls we analyzed. And that's for cold leads. But if you are contacting follow-up leads, the conversions are 4 to 5 times higher than cold leads.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I assume that it'd be definitely nuances between the two. That's what we've seen within ours as well. So what within the last 5 years, kind of like what is something that you've learned about outbound sales that you wish you knew 5 years ago?
You just need to enjoy the process. You just
Hmm.
need to enjoy the process. So um, building startups is not always about the milestones and big big goal achievements. It's just enjoying the process as well. You need to have fun while reaching out to those people, while having those conversations. So just enjoy, do what you love, and you will see massive results. But if everything feels like a chore and you are being forced
Hmm.
because you need to do that kind of stuff, then probably you'll burn out and that won't last too long.
Hmm. Yeah, no, you definitely need the passion to continue on. So within your newsletter that you just referenced, does that also have scripts or workflows, other things that people can pull reference from? Kind of talk me through what's within there.
Yes, we have a lot of stuff. So what we do is we publish weekly stats around connect rates, how many dials does it take to book a meeting,
Hmm.
all that kind of data benchmarks, so you know exactly what other teams are expecting, and you can compare against your numbers and see where you stand against average numbers. We also publish outlier performance stats as well, and
Oh, cool.
sometimes we invite our outlier customers for a interview. So cold call benchmarks podcast, and then ask them exactly how they are getting those incredible results. And we've done quite a few with some of our customers, so you can like listen to those. I mean, it's only like 15-20 minute maximum 30
Hmm.
minute podcasts. We just ask like direct questions like how do you build lists, how do you source this, what do you say on cold calls, your favorite opener, worst cold call you've had, like all those like very direct actionable stuff. And then they
Hmm.
tell us, and from those I think you startup or community can learn.
What kind of like productivity or what tools do you use that other founders can utilize or learn from? Like, what do you use on your daily basis?
Mm. Daily use, I try to minimize apps I want to use because I don't want my screen to be crowded with too many
Hmm.
apps open and slowing my computer down. So I
Yeah.
use ChatGPT. Obviously, many people use that.
Hmm.
I use email. For email, I use Superhuman. I
Hmm.
use Slack for team communications, Zoom, and Notion for documents and stuff. That's pretty much it. I don't use too many stuff.
Okay, gotcha. No, that's kind of, yeah, less is more sometimes. That totally makes sense. Well, so thank you so much for coming on. As we always do at the end of the interview, we always ask this question. What is one thing that you could do to give back to the startup or community? It can be a piece of advice, anything of that nature.
Sure. I mean, if they can reach out to me via LinkedIn, I'm happy to uh, help them with their situation, depending on what they need help with. They can definitely reach out, and perhaps we can have a video calls as well to help out the people and basically share what works for me. I mean, I'm not a guru or I'm not like a know-it-all person. I can only tell from what worked for me from my experience. And if that's valuable, feel free to reach out.
Okay, well, awesome. I think that that's super valuable. You're being very humble. I appreciate it. Everyone should definitely, if you have the opportunity, take advantage of that. But once again, thank you so much. What an awesome episode that we had here at the Startup or Founder series. Definitely learned a lot. And check out Salesfinity. It's a great tool. We use it every single day here at Startupper. So thank you for or thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Well, we'll talk soon.